Good morning to everyone, and Chronia Pola for the remaining Greek Orthodox. Thank you. I want to express my thanks to the Hellenic Air Force for inviting me in this excellent conference, and I want to ask for your understanding, because I had a 6-hour class in my university. I'm a latecomer, and thank Colin Fakitsas for inviting me to this panel. So I lost the first class. I'm really sorry, and I don't show any disrespect for my colleagues, but I have to, by 11 o'clock, leave from your excellent place of discussion and exchange of ideas. My issue of discussion has to do with how military command and political command can cooperate. Among the oldest problems in the world affairs is how human governance has been able to secure cooperation with military forces and political authority. In the 20th century alone, civilian control of the military has been the target of most political scientists, military officers, governments in Asia, Africa, Latin America. Whether and how society controls those who possess the ultimate power of physical coercion and ensures their loyalty and cooperation both to the particular government in power and to the regime in general, has been the basic issue throughout the 20th and 21st centuries. For mature democracies, where civilian control has historically been strong and military establishments have focused on external defense, the real test of democracy is whether civilians can exercise supremacy in military policy and decision-making, that is, frame the alternatives and defy the discussion, can make the final choice. However, when there are no mature democracies but democracy in a transition, and the officer corps enjoys great prestige, feels that it possesses a number of advanced bureaucratic skills, believes that its ability to fulfill its mission may be at risk by following the civilian government, or comes to doubt seriously the civilian leadership, then civilians can face great obstacles in exercising their authority. If we have such a division between mature democracies and democracies in transition, then the first issue that someone has to deal is what values civilians and military officers carry with them. The question then goes, military institutions and values. Because of their purpose to wage armed conflict, military institutions are or should be designed for violence and coercion. Militaries have to have developed the organizational structures, operating procedures, and individual values needed to succeed in war. Authority in the military, and you know better than me, emphasizes unchallenged hierarchy so that individuals and units are always ready to act according to the intentions and directions of commanders and can succeed under the very worst of physical circumstances and mental stress. Are these the values that civilian authorities have? Politicians or civilians consider among their inalienable democratic rights the right to examine, evaluate, challenge, and even oppose the leader's authority, decisions, and decision-making processes. For most politicians, there is no zero-sum game in any arena. Everything can be discussed, examined, negotiated, with one aim in mind: the lowest political cost for them in either individual or party terms. The point of civilian control is to make security subordinate to the larger purposes of a nation-state, rather than the other way around. The purpose of the military is to defend society, not to define it. As an American political scientist, Peter Feaver, has argued, the inherent paradox in civil-military relations is the need to have protection by the military and the need to have protection from the military. What are the borderlines of responsibility, then? The critical issue for all democracies is where and how to distinguish between military and civilian responsibilities. Civilians always want more control in order to ensure congruence with political purpose. At the same time, with weapons and operations becoming even more technical and complex, military officers want more independence to achieve success in war situations with the least cost in blood and treasure. The critical issue, therefore, for all democracies is where and how to distinguish between military and civilian responsibilities. Civilians always want more control. The truth is that civilian control is not a fact, but a process. It exists along a continuum, running from the extreme of countries that are ruled by military establishments or experience frequent direct or indirect military intervention in politics to those that do not possess standing military forces. The best way to understand civilian control is to weigh the relative influence of military officers and civilian officials in decisions of state concerning war, internal security, external defense, and military policy. Among the responsibilities that the military has is that it must possess a sophisticated understanding of civilian control and actively promote it. Because of their expertise and role as the nation's guardians, high-ranking military officers in democracies can possess great public credibility and can use it to limit or undermine civilian control, particularly during and after successful wars. The operating mechanism of the civilian government and the methods by which the civilian authority rules military forces is a critical factor. The expanding knowledge of the members of the civilian government on military, war, technological issues plays an important critical role both in the type of communication and understanding of each other. What I found extremely important, especially for non-mature democracies, is institutional memory. I have witnessed, by reading, of course, several successful civilian military administrations, and after certain leaders depart from the position, whether civilian or military, it seems that the memory of these cooperations is gone. It seems to me that in transitional democracies, there is no institutional memory, or there is a short-term institutional memory. Compared to big states and mature democracies, what is a very important factor for me is that when leaders cooperate, communicate, coordinate their activities to be able to educate the next level of leaders, the younger ones, who will be going into the same positions in the next years, to be educated to keep and upgrade these lines of communication and cooperation. Is there a great risk in all of that? Even though the type and length of discussions and of technical issues taking place between high-ranking officers and members of the civilian elected government cannot be made known to the public, it should not be forgotten that the public will be the last evaluator of both military and political leadership's actions. And the public's decision is subject to significant fluctuations if not supported by knowledge or awareness of the security, defense, and socioeconomic risks involved. Whoever is trying to go beyond the public reaches the problem of Praetorianism. Whoever is aware of Roman history can understand what I'm initiating. Usually, when we make certain speeches, we bring the examples of the US because of the openness of the state and society and the knowledge about events taking place. We tend to use US as an example of our presentations. I thought that it was interesting to deviate from that example and go to Israel and make it as a test case between civilian-military cooperation, an event that all of you, because it's nice to talk about Second World War, but no, I didn't live in that time, and I was not born. So let's talk about one event of that we all know. It's 2006 event that Israel had to face Hezbollah, a paramilitary group. And Israel felt that it did not succeed, and the world felt that it did not succeed. So what is interesting for me is that they created two commissions, the Winograd Commission and the Ave-Kober's report. Both reports made a clear point that Israel had been stuck in the old conventional warfare. It had air force superiority, it had technological superiority, and thought that by having these two issues, it could win any war. What the 2006 event showed that hybrid war is different from conventional warfare. So not only economy advances to a next level, but also war advances to a next level. And in order to be able to tackle events like advancements in warfare, the most important thing is to lessons learned. Learn that things cannot be stable, as the ambassador said and yesterday, that we are in a rapidly changing world, and what makes us all be here together in a peaceful environment is cooperation. And I cannot leave you without an ancient Greek proverb that probably most know. In case of ruler make a decision maker, every ruler or decision maker must remember three things. Firstly, that he rules men. Secondly, that he rules according to law. And thirdly, that he doesn't rule forever. Thank you for your attention.